I'm in total agreement.
I don't know. I just told you how I felt, and then you went, "Well, I'm gonna check right now." Damn. So that doesn't sound like you're in agreement. This sounds like, "Well, I'm gonna still do it right in front of you." Mm-hmm. What's up? It's LaKesha, and I wanted to do this video all weekend. So hopefully, I remember everything I wanted to say. But I just kind of wanted to. All right. I hate that I always say kinda. I kinda do, kinda. I do. So I've been wanting to do this video all weekend because it's been on my mind a lot, and I feel like I should share this with you. So, me personally, I have been in a relationship with my significant other for almost 15 years. And it feels funny to say that. Like, I remember before this relationship, my longest relationship was 4 years, and it was like the most miserable 4 years. And, you know, a long time ago, I felt like I was never going to find someone who I could trust and just be myself with, and who respected me and didn't cheat and didn't lie. And then I finally found this person, and at the beginning, I think I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, eventually you're gonna show me that I was right, and that, this isn't possible, that I could be in a relationship with someone who actually treats me the way I want to be treated and how I treat them. But surprisingly, I found someone who was like my mirror image, and basically had gone through the same types of emotions and feelings that I had, and had kind of sworn off love for a while, and then not really wanted to get into a relationship that was serious because of trust issues. And I don't know, we were just so on the same page that it was like easy. So a lot of my friends, they look at our relationship and they think, that everything's perfect and they would like to have a relationship like that. But I know for a fact that there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. So today I just wanted to talk to you guys about the secrets to a long lasting relationship, because there are things that you have to do to have a long lasting relationship. And this comes from even before you start the relationship and during. And I think that that's what helped me the most sustain a 15-year relationship. And it's not like after 15 years, I'm like, this is the most boring. It's still as loving and affectionate and exciting and beautiful as it was at the beginning, but even better now because of the things that I'm going to share with you today. So, I want to just start off by saying that even though I feel like this relationship was like the best thing that could ever happen to me, and I wanted it for so long, I wanted to be with someone who really cared about me for so long, and I felt like, when is it going to be my turn? When am I going to find that person? When am I going to be like, you know, wanting it to just be, and then finally getting to the point where I didn't even care anymore, and then it just showed up. So that is kind of like, I manifested it by letting go. not realizing that that's what I was doing. But I kind of let go out of frustration instead of out of knowing that this is how to manifest. I was just like, So anyway, I'll give you a little bit of my history. Back in the day, I used to. Okay, so even before back in the day, I used to. I should say that growing up, I had a lot of examples of marriages, and majority of the examples that I had ended up in divorce, or they were marriages where you didn't really think that it was something that you would want it to look like. So I took marriage very seriously. I grew up in a Christian home, and so I had Christian values. And even though you have Christian values, that doesn't mean that you always follow like the letter of the law when it comes to what you should and shouldn't do, like having sex before marriage. But you do feel like, you should honor your husband, or you should, not cheat. Or I just thought that marriage was a very serious thing. And just because of the background of, divorces that I've seen in my lifetime, and family members, and friends of family members and all that stuff, I just felt like if I get married, I want it to be something very serious. I'm not gonna. I just saw too many people who felt like, even on TV, like people would get married and then they didn't like one thing and then they're like, I'm divorcing you. And I'd be like, are you serious? Like, marriage is not something to take lightly to me. It's something that if you make a commitment to someone, for better or for worse, you better know what that means. Like, for better or for worse could mean a lot of things, and everybody wants the for better, but I don't think that they understand how much work it takes to get to that for better. It doesn't just magically appear in your lap. So, I was gonna say that the for worse part can get really bad. Like, that person could betray you, and that commitment that you made, like, that's for worse. Or they could cheat, they could have a baby with someone else. Are you still gonna be like, well, I love you and I made this commitment, so I'm gonna keep trying to make it work? And you know what, sometimes people, they turn their noses up to people who really take that commitment seriously. Because when I was a kid, I didn't understand what heart pain could feel like, because I was a kid. So to me, I was just like, how could you make this commitment to someone and then just walk off? And then as I got older, in my teenage years and my early 20s, and I really found out what heartbreak felt like, then I understood that sometimes you can love someone, but you have to love yourself more if they can't love you correctly enough to say, I'm not going to let you treat me this way. And, that's not always the easiest thing to do, but sometimes you have to save yourself. You have to love yourself. You can't. And this is another thing that's important, is when you're in a relationship with someone, you can't be like, give them everything and then give nothing to yourself, and then expect that they can make you happy. Or let me put it a different way. You can't go into a relationship thinking that it's going to fix you or save you or make you happy, and you shouldn't think that being in a relationship with someone is going to make you feel complete in any way. What really happens is, and like I said before, when I talked about the secrets of a long lasting relationship, before you even get into a relationship, you need to have a relationship with yourself where you know what makes you happy. You need to be happy alone, because if you bring someone into your world or your relationship with them, and you're struggling with things and you're going through things, you're bringing that into your relationship, and that in turn makes it difficult to have a healthy relationship, because you need to fix things on your own. So, I mean, I'm sure that everyone has sorry. I just keep hearing a weird noise outside, like scraping, and I have no idea what it is. We're in the middle of the meltdown from all the snow we got, so I'm all like, what's that noise? Alright, enough distraction though. So, anyway, let's just think about it like this. If you bring yourself into a relationship with someone, and we've all seen this happen, where two people get together and one, you know, this is the most amazing thing that always happens in a new relationship. Everyone puts them in front of you, their best and most beautiful and brightest self. They want you to see the best of them. So they put on this is me, like me, love me persona. Okay, it's the neighbor like scraping ice off his driveway and it's so super loud. So I'm going to pause the video until he's done because I'm super annoyed by the scratchy noises on this video. Alright, it looks like my neighbor's done scraping ice off his driveway very loudly, so I'm going to continue this video. But anyway, so I was talking about long-term relationships and some of the things that you need to be aware of that are important or secrets to having a long, sustainable, and loving relationship is you need to be okay with yourself and your own happiness. You need to, and I'm not saying that things have to be perfect because it's okay to get into a relationship and for the relationship to help you grow. But you can't be like this basket case that does no kind of work on themselves to improve themselves. And you can't have the mentality of thinking that love will fix you. Nothing will fix you except for you. Nothing will make you happy except for you. So, in addition to is great, but having it be the source of everything that makes you happy, it will only let you down because you're putting all of your hopes and faith into a relationship, which is basically, you know, another human being, and you're giving them the responsibility of making you happy, and their only responsibility is making themselves happy. Now, mind you, in a relationship, it is a, you know, 50-50 thing, and you have to work together in order to, you know, have this relationship, but you shouldn't be taking more than you're giving. You shouldn't be giving more than you're taking. So when I say that, I mean you shouldn't expect that the other person is going to put all of their efforts and energy into making you happy and you don't have to do anything. And you shouldn't be putting all of your efforts and energy into the relationship and the other person isn't doing anything. It should be equal. It should be 50-50. And if it's not, then there needs to be discussion. Okay, so these are the top important things to me that you need to make sure that you have in order to even start thinking about being in a relationship. And the first thing is to be happy with yourself, to know yourself, and, you know, to be emotionally healthy. Emotionally healthy, when I say that, I mean that you're not bringing any baggage into the relationship, either from old relationships, from your childhood, or just from any experiences that you had that might have been negative. Don't bring those into your relationship. When you start off a relationship with someone, it should start off as, this is new. I don't know you enough to say that you're going to do these negative things that have been done to me in the past, so I'm going to give you a blank, clean slate. And we'll go from there. Don't bring in your old baggage into the relationship, and make sure that you're emotionally healthy enough to have a relationship. And when I say emotionally healthy enough to have a relationship, I mean make sure that you're not being selfish and think that they're supposed to do all the work, or that you don't have to do any, or that you have to do everything. And make sure that you know who you are as a person and what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, what your boundaries are. Secondly, I think it's important when you get into a relationship with someone A lot of times people don't realize that the reason why their relationships didn't work out is because they chose the wrong person at the very beginning. So think about how you choose a specific person to be in a relationship in the past. How did that happen? Now, if I think back in my past, how did that happen? It was just because I was in their vicinity and they were in mine, and we ended up having a conversation, and I had that why not get to know you better scenario. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with finding friends that way. But the problem lies when you are in the wrong place to start with, and you're making these connections instead of going to the correct places or the more promising places for yourself to find the type of person that you're looking for. So if you're not looking for an alcoholic as a significant other, don't go looking at the bar every night. If you're not looking for a cheater, don't go looking for someone who's already in a relationship. So these kind of things, don't go looking for someone that you don't want in places where they are usually hanging out. And sometimes you don't know. But like I said earlier, people who first meet and they want you to like them will put on this scenario of this is the best me. But after 3 months, the real them starts to penetrate holes in that exterior of the best me, and you start to see who they really are. And it's not always, after the 3 months, and I've used that 3 month rule for a long time. Like, it's very difficult to maintain a fake personality for 3 months straight without any pinholes pricking through that and showing you who they really are. And after you get to the 3 months, if they're pretty much still the same person, then you're good. But if you start to see things that are red flags, and you know what a red flag is, then, maybe you should consider walking away. So don't open yourself up. I mean, you should open yourself up to relationships, but don't totally open yourself up to getting hurt. If you see red flags, then it's time to say, okay, this boundary was not right, or this boundary was, crossed over, and I don't like that, and that's not what I'm looking for. But also, you know, have respect for yourself of what you want and what you don't. And sometimes there's a thin line between this is what I want and there's a thin line between this is what I want and you're not good enough. So don't get to the point where you're like, well, I have this laundry list of things that they better be this, 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 and this. And if they're not, then I don't have the time to even talk to you. That's not going to work. You have to be open to love, and you have to be openly flexible. Flexible to the human experience. And the human experience is one of fault, one of trial and error, one of making mistakes and learning from them, and one of surprises. And when I say surprises, it's because sometimes when you're looking for something very specific and you don't find it, maybe that's not exactly what you need. And when I say that, I mean, so you have this list of all the wonderful things that you think that a man should have or a woman should have, and they may be great things. You want them to be handsome and kind and loving, and you want them to have a job, and you want them to have lots of money, but they may have all these things, and they may beat you every night. And you're like, well, how can he be loving if he beats me every night? Well, he might be loving. He might buy you flowers after he beats you. I know that's a lot. But it's true, though. Like, you have to be careful. Just because it looks good on paper doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that you should have in your relationship. For instance, when you look at someone and you judge them on their outward appearance, remember that, we all were born, most of us, with eyes, nose, ears. Like, these are the common things that we all are supposed to have. And, they're shaped differently and they're different lengths, sizes, colors, or whatever, and it makes our unique look. But if you're feeling like this person needs to be attractive to me, I'm going to tell you this very important thing. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I'm laughing when I say that because it's a corny little quote, it's a corny little thing that you heard, but it's very true. Like, if you think it's beautiful, it is. So, I remember when I was in high school, I used to just like think that good looking guys were my type. Everybody loves that word. My type is this. And so I started dating guys that I thought were highly attractive. And you know what happened? I learned that I don't want to date a highly attractive guy. Not to say that I want to date ugly guys, but I don't want to date pretty boys. And to each his own, you might want to date a pretty boy, and that's fine. But for me, I found that that came with things that I didn't like. Like, they are more self centered, and that's a turnoff for me. So you can't be with someone who you think looks beautiful and they think they look beautiful and then think that, it's not gonna be other things that come along with it. Other girls being in their face or them being a cheater because they feel like they can get any girl they want. They're missing a lot of the other qualities that I feel were more important than them just looking good. All right, so the other thing that I thought was pretty important is, like I said, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And someone's heart could make them look more beautiful than any of the pretty boys on the magazine that you've ever seen. So just realize that, they can get in a car accident tomorrow and that beauty could be wiped away. And you still are connected to this person. You're still with this person. And that vow that you hear about for weddings of, you know, um, not good and bad. What is it? To, what is it? The vow that you hear during weddings is goodness and badness. No, till death do us part. What is it? Anyway, the vow that you hear people say, the good times could be good, but the bad times could be really bad. So let's say your significant other was a model and they were beautiful, and they got into this accident, and now their looks are gone because of the scars on their face, or they lost an eye, or whatever it was, God forbid. And then, till death do us part, you said you're going to be with this person, but, they were everything was great when they were modeling, and now that they can't do that anymore, they're depressed and they're angry and they're mean to you, but you promised that you were going to be with them for good and bad times. And so you have to think about that. You have to think about the inner person, who they are inside, and not just on the outside, because the outside is very fickle. It could change, and the inside is eternal. It's their soul. So anyway, I said I was going to give you secrets to how to have a long-lasting relationship, and those first couple things that I mentioned were all about, before you even get started. Like, just to recap, be one with yourself, know yourself and your happiness, and be emotionally stable enough to be in a relationship with someone. Choose people and that you see a positive outcome being with. Don't choose people who you see a negative. Like, don't go on the jail site surfing for a new boyfriend. Not that you would, but that's like the extreme scenario. But what I'm trying to say is, don't go looking for trash in the trash can, because you're gonna find it. Anyway, so me and my significant other, we've been together for 15 years, and another thing that I feel is the most important reason why, I mean, I feel like we had a lot of compatibility at the very beginning, and I feel like we were mirrored and we had a lot in common, so we became friends very quickly and spent a lot of time together, and it became like I don't know, like we were never apart. I don't know how else to, and I've never experienced that in any other relationship. Now, mind you, I've been in love a couple times before, and I think I discussed earlier where as a kid I was kind of like, I was really hung up on what the meaning of unconditional love was and how that should look in a marriage. And so I felt like if you marry someone and you make that commitment, then there's no reason to walk away. But then as I got older and I realized how badly it could feel when someone you're in love with hurts you, then I understood, there is a point where you need to just step away and say, this is enough and I have to choose myself. And that's fine too. But at the same time, everybody goes through these changes in their life. And this is a very interesting aspect of a relationship, to be in one for 15 years, is you see who they were when you met them and who you were when you met. And then you realize all of the chapters or changes that they went through in their life to the point that they're at now, and the changes that you went through in your life to this point during the relationship. And it's amazing to watch. And it's also amazing to realize that the reason why, the number one reason why the relationship lasted the way it does is because we were compatible, we were a good match from the very beginning, and we increased our level of communication dramatically. Now, you would get with somebody and you'd be like, oh, well, they don't have this quality, so I'm gonna whatever. But mind you, like I said, nobody's perfect, so you can't expect that whoever you're with has all of these qualities. And you can't go into it thinking, I'm gonna change this person, because you should love them enough to know that whoever they are or wherever they are is good enough for you to love them, and they don't have to do anything to make you happy as far as changing themselves. But in a relationship, you have to be flexible, and so you have to go into the relationship knowing that you have to make changes in yourself. You have to make changes that will make them happy, but that will make the relationship flow easier. And the number one thing, like I said, was communication. Now, I was a very shy kid, and now I'm getting to the point as an adult where I speak up way more than I did back then, and I'm out of my shell. But my significant other, also very shy as a child, and I don't know how shy, but because we didn't know each other then. But just, knowing my significant other when we first met, very quiet, very reserved, but lots and lots of people knew him, and he had a lot of friends. And so I was like, how can you be on both sides of the fence where you're this quiet, reserved person, but everybody knows you? And I think that's kind of why, because of the energy that he had. So anyway, I felt like, we needed to talk more, and he had a hard time expressing his feelings about certain things. And so I would think that everything's great in my head, and he would be feeling like things are not great, and we wouldn't have a conversation. And then later that would cause conflict, because I felt like I didn't know him at all, because he wasn't expressing how he really felt about things. And it took a number of years, but after a while he started to open up and be more expressive about how he was feeling and thinking. And once we got to that point, then, I don't even know when we got to that point. I remember feeling like, dang, I don't know you, and I realize now at this point we're past that, because I know that when we have a conversation, he says exactly how he feels now. And that's wonderful because we're on the same page. I don't have to guess. I don't have to say this sentence that I've said a million times. I can't read your mind. Have you ever said that to somebody? So having the conversation in your head is not good enough or equal to letting me know how you feel so that I can respect your boundaries, respect your feelings. It's important in a relationship to have that connection and to talk to each other and to feel comfortable enough to trust that that person is going to do with that information in a positive way and, not get an attitude or not want to talk or walk out or whatever it is. If you're dealing with someone in a relationship who doesn't want to have a conversation, and when I say have a conversation, I do not mean preach to you. I do not mean one person talks and the other person listens and nobody. Okay. Communication in a relationship is defined for me as listening to what the other person has to say, understanding where they're coming from and putting yourself in their shoes, and then responding to them in a caring and affectionate way of, I understand why you feel this way. I understand that you're trying to resolve this issue that you're feeling. I'm sorry that you feel this way. I would like to do what I can to prevent this from happening again. What can I do to help? That is an open line of communication. You want your significant other to come at you like that if you're feeling hurt. You don't want them to be like, no, I didn't, and walk off. Nothing's going to get resolved that way. No one's going to feel better, and you can't pretend like the problems are solved by ignoring them. You have to address them. You have to sit down and talk. And when I say talk, I mean both people, not at the same time, not yelling, but speaking, listening, understanding, and responding in a loving manner. And that was the biggest thing. Now, I remember that I was feeling some type of way, and this wasn't long ago, maybe almost a year ago, 6 months, 8 months. And I needed to address this to my significant other, but I don't think that I was feeling anxiety about having the conversation. I knew it needed to be made. I knew that I couldn't go on not having the conversation. And once I finally got up the courage to say, we need to have a conversation, my resistance and my fear was that I wasn't going to get the response that I wanted, which was a loving, I understand and I'll do what I can to make this relationship work. That's what everybody wants. That's why when a horrible boyfriend is doing all these bad things over and over to a significant other girlfriend and they're ready to walk away, but they hang out and wait for the boyfriend to say he's sorry or say he didn't mean to or whatever it is, it's because we have that need to forgive. We really want to forgive. We really want to mend things. We really want to move on. In those instances, that is a time where you should probably just move on because they're just giving you, what do you call it? When people just say things and they don't really mean it. Ear service. They're giving you ear service just because they know that's what you want to hear. But in a real, loving, trusting relationship, you should be able to have a conversation with someone and they listen and understand and really want your happiness and really want their happiness. And that comes from, giving each other what you need. And if your needs aren't met in your relationship, then, what is the point of the relationship? So anyway, guys, communication, picking the best person in the first place, that's compatible with you, and also being very flexible. And when I say flexible, I mean don't start with this long list. Like like I said, me and my significant other, we started off as friends, and I had this little list over here of he has to be this tall, and he has to have this, and he better not have no kids, and blah 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 blah. And over here, I met this guy, and we're friends, and he's really cool. And guess what? He wasn't this tall, and he did have kids, and blah 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 blah. But guess what? He was my perfect match. So don't close yourself off of thinking this is what I need, this is what I want, so much to the point where you're not even giving yourself the opportunity to be open to what the universe is trying to send you, your perfect match, who, and I don't even like using the word perfect match because there's no one who is perfect. No human is perfect. But perfect for me. Perfect match for me. But anyway, I just don't like that word in relationships. Perfect is just like a non existent thing. It's a wonderful, beautiful relationship. It's a good match. I'm feeling very loved and appreciated and supported. I am never beaten or hurt or abused in any shape or form. I'm very happy with the day to day. Like, it's just, he's so kind and loving. And I probably would have never, if I went out on my own and just tried to find my own match, like through a dating site or something, I would choose people who look a certain way and they would not be the match for me. And when I say matches, like it goes really deep. Like even like things that we've learned as children and how we grew up was totally different. But that is another reason why our differences are so interesting because I'm like, wow, you grew up this way. I grew up this opposite way. Tell me more. Like I can't believe, you know, this is that kind of energy of I need to know more about you. I need to understand how you lived and how you became this person who's so sweet and kind and caring and you know, it's just beautiful. All right, so I feel like I'm going off into a rant, but I just really want you guys to know that love is out there. Long term relationships that succeed are out there. But if you're hanging on to that old relationship, the one that just doesn't fit right, where you're not happy on a daily basis because the other person is trying to push whatever on you to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to control you, whatever it is, and you're not recognizing in yourself your boundaries and what you are comfortable with, that relationship might not be for you. You might need to do some work on yourself before you move on to a relationship. And just think about this too, like I'm not the type of person where I'm like I broke up with somebody and then 5 minutes later I gotta have a new boyfriend. I have no problem being alone, but I know some people have issues being alone. And that's a whole nother issue. If you have an issue with being alone, then it might be because you need to figure out why you have this issue being alone on your own before you even look for a relationship. Because if you're so desperate to just be with anybody because you don't like to be alone and you're lonely, you're more likely to pick somebody who's not your good match. You're more likely to be with somebody longer who treats you terribly because you don't want to be alone. And that's something you need to address emotionally. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to share this video with you. I feel like everybody could find someone who's good for them, someone who might have gone through the exact same story as they did, and they just have so much to talk about and so much to work together towards, you know, being better. But they don't give themselves a chance to find that because they're stuck on these dudes or women who are just not for them. And even Aaron Doherty, he made it very clear in his videos, and you should check his videos out, that, you can't be chasing love. Love comes to you, just like my story. I wasn't chasing love. When I was chasing love, I was finding all kinds of cretins, and I won't use a cuss word, but they were not very boyfriend material. We'll say that. But once you let go and you're not, begging the universe to bring your love to you, it will appear. It will show up. And I thank God every day. Like, I feel like even though we've been together for 15 years, all those years that I've waited, when I was waiting, they felt long. It felt like, dang, when is this going to be over? But now that I'm in this 15-year span of being with the person I'm supposed to be with, it doesn't seem that long. But it does. Like, 15 years is a long time to be in a relationship, yes. But it doesn't seem like I waited all those years to be here. Even though I know I did, it probably was the same equivalent number of years. I waited 15 years, and then I have a relationship for 15 years, and it's still going. All right, I'm going to stop mumbo jumboing. I wish you guys luck. I know that you'll find love, but first look for it in yourself. Love yourself. Love who you are. Figure out what you want, and be happy in your own life. And then, only then, will you be able to have a healthy, long lasting relationship. This is LaKesha from Virgo Vibe wishing you love and light. Virgo Vibe out.